Hola amigos, los estudiantes, neighborinos, and fellow journey people, whatever. I've been reading a lot of physics lately. Some new concepts that are coming out in physics. Crossed. One of the major headlines was that there's a 50% chance that we might be living in a simulation, and that's a very interesting concept to think about. A simulation like a game or a video game or something like that. And there's been some odd synchronicities and coincidences in my own life that have recently, and throughout growing up, that I've always thought about this, that have just kind of made me think that that may be true. I'm kind of leaning towards the idea that we are living in a simulation, and what does that mean about fate versus, freedom of choice, our free will, and is fate just a framework for us to carry out that free will? I don't know. Just some thoughts are going through my brain, thinking about all this that we've kind of gone through together. If you've been watching the videos, how do we get to this point? Talking about that idea of a journey. And whoever this character is, a storyteller, I call him a storyteller. And if we are living this simulation, who's telling the story, right? And then I think about how weird things, so we talk about weird coincidences, but are these coincidences, synchronicities truly random and coincidental, or are they somehow manifested by our own will? And which is interesting because, like, I've been talking about this character here, and how it just kind of came up. At first it was going to be like a Greek statue maybe, or some sort of ancient statue or something like that when it kind of came up in the original doodling. But now I'm thinking about, as I look at it, how interesting that if I just put my head here, how similar this character is. How am I doing a self-portrait? Is it just that narcissistic? I don't know. Is this me in the near future as I age? Who knows? But the one thing that bothers me about this character is he seems so oblivious to everything that's going on around him. And so that may be me as well. I don't know. I'm really excited about this element over here. This last week was Columbus Day, and we celebrate it in our household as Indigenous Peoples Day. It just so coincides that in social studies we're also learning about Indigenous people. And so as a sort of Mayan form kind of took place here, I kind of thought about Indigenous people and watched this beautiful video. I think it's called Sky Dance or something by a Native American in this beautiful dress and slow motion, and there's lots of tassels, and there's all this sort of motion that goes with it that follows the motion that he has. And the tassels are all sort of dancing as he's dancing across this sort of desert, barren landscape. And that's what inspired this. And I'm kind of thinking, I've not really painted humans before at all. I think I've discussed that in one video. There's like maybe one painting out there in the world someplace that got stolen. And it's not very realistic. It's very classical style, but it's not really realistic. And this isn't really realistic either, but this is more impressionistic. But I kind of like how loose his being kind of came into. This was more akin to seeing a spot on a wall and making something out of it, and then sort of using paint as like carving that figure out. And so as I stand back, from about a distance of about 7 feet. It's sort of like a in and out of existence. Is he really there? Is he a ghost? Is he just a memory? And I kind of like that idea. I want to I don't see this element going away. As I kind of painted over the dragon or Quetzalcoatl, that memory is still there. And I'm thinking about having some sort of bush or plant here. Obviously, I'm going more for a landscape look than I maybe originally thought I would. Obviously, this is becoming a landscape painting. I don't see some of these elements going away. I see them getting developed more. But Quetzalcoatl, or our dragon, is kind of fading off in the distance. I just felt like, even though I liked the concept of Quetzalcoatl kind of creeping in here, being some sort of element, we're talking about ideas of multiple ideas or concepts sharing the same space. Even though I liked that, because he was a combination, Quetzalcoatl specifically was a combination in myth of a bird and a serpent, which is interesting. That whole, how can things be both, right? Combinations of things, which really interests me. But maybe but that sort of, I was kind of borrowing off this idea of sort of this floral design for Quetzalcoatl, because I saw some representations of Quetzalcoatl in Mayan art, and that, he's got like this sort of sunflower ring around his head as his sort of dragonness comes out from that. And I thought that was being better represented through whatever this is. Seems to be like, I've seen people refer to it as like a Statue of Liberty. And I kind of like the idea. And then this sort of American flag kind of came in here. So the symbolism that we're playing with, I like ideas of playing with symbols. What is the symbolism really going on here? And it made me think about the knowledge that we gained from indigenous people as the history kind of unfolded. So I thought about maybe doing sort of a version of a Statue of Liberty, but instead of like the crown that she has, maybe making it corn or maize, as indigenous peoples did refer to it. These stalks of corn maybe ringing her head. As we see the effect of the corn industry on our diets and so forth, these impacts, there's all sorts of concepts that we could be playing with and thinking about and pondering while we're doing art, right? So I like that, but still I have this sort of, this element of this person here. I don't want him to be a conquistador. I don't want things to be that forthright and direct, it seems like, But what is this person doing here? As the rest of the picture seems to be kind of erupting into this maybe look to the past, maybe a historical setting. But then I also like kind of what's going on here. This looks more European, old world European to me, but those old world European influences obviously also took place in South America and Central America as well. And so these concepts of, again, multiple ideas sharing the same space are still part of what I'm exploring. And I know that can be controversial, but I'm not really trying to be controversial here. I think I'm trying to be honest in my thoughts. And I think that's important as well. So, I don't know, I realize when I turn off the camera, speaking of honest thoughts, that it does sort of allow me to explore in a more concentrated way. So, and I know I've said this before, I want to be allowed as I create to have those thoughts. So I might not be recording every step of the way, but once I start get going, I might go, all right, maybe I should start turning on the camera. So you might not see every step, but you might see some jumps and some additions of elements. But if I really see something kind of developing, I'll turn on the camera for you guys and let you kind of see how I'm playing with the paint of the surface. With that, I bid you adieu.